If you're hearing this at night, when everything finally goes quiet, this is not background noise. This is for you. You've been holding it together all day, thinking, carrying, staying strong, and no one really sees how tired you are inside. Aquarius, you don't usually ask for comfort. But tonight, this message came to you anyway. Before we go any further, if you're open to receiving this energy, comment below "I received this message." Just let it land. Because what you're about to hear is not about fixing you, it's about understanding why this moment in your life is quietly preparing you for something much bigger. Stay with me. We're just stepping into it now. It's night now. And when night arrives, something inside you finally exhales. Not because things are solved, but because the noise fades, the expectations fade, the need to explain yourself fades. This is usually the hour when your thoughts get louder, when your mind starts replaying moments you didn't have time to feel during the day, the conversations you swallowed, the weight you carried quietly. You've always had a way of holding things on your own. You tell yourself you're fine. You stay logical, you stay composed. But night knows the truth. Night knows how tired you are from thinking too much, from feeling deeply but rarely showing it, from being the one who understands everyone else while no one quite understands you. And if you're listening right now, in this quiet space, it's because something in you finally slowed down enough to hear this. You're not weak for feeling this way. You're human. There's a certain loneliness that comes with being Aquarius. Not the kind where you're surrounded by no one, but the kind where you're surrounded by people and still feel unseen. You see patterns others miss. You sense shifts before they happen. You carry questions that don't have easy answers. And most days you just keep going. But at night, the armor comes off. This is when you feel the ache of how much you've given, how often you've been the strong one, how rarely you've allowed yourself to simply rest inside someone else's presence. If this moment feels heavy, pause for a second. Notice your breathing. Notice where your body is holding tension. Your shoulders, your chest, your jaw. You don't have to release it all. Just notice it, because awareness is where healing begins. Aquarius, you're not alone in this quiet, even if it feels that way. There is something deeply intentional about this pause, about this space between who you've been and what you're slowly growing into. You may not see it yet. You may feel uncertain, disconnected, even a little lost. But this stillness isn't empty. It's preparing you. You've been taught to keep moving, to stay productive, to figure it out. But tonight isn't asking you to do anything. It's asking you to feel. To remember that your sensitivity is not a flaw. Your depth is not a burden. Your way of being is not too much. It's exactly what makes you who you are. And as you sit here listening, there's a quiet shift happening. Nothing dramatic, nothing loud. Just a subtle reminder that you don't have to carry everything by yourself tonight. Let the night hold some of it. Let this voice hold some of it. Because what's unfolding in your life right now is not random. It's not punishment. It's not delay for the sake of delay. It's alignment. And as you stay here, allowing yourself to listen, you may start to feel it. That gentle sense that something is slowly finding its place. People often say you're fine. They say you're calm, rational, independent. They assume you don't need much, that you can handle anything, that you always land on your feet, and most of the time you let them believe that. You learned early how to be the strong one, how to stay composed when things weren't fair, how to keep moving when no one asked how you were really doing. Aquarius, you've been carrying more than you ever talk about. There were moments when you were treated like an option. Times when your loyalty was overlooked. When your effort was expected, but your heart was taken for granted. You didn't make a scene. You didn't demand explanations. You just absorbed it, quietly. That's the part people don't see. They don't see how often you gave without being met halfway. How often you showed understanding when you needed it yourself. How many times you told yourself, "It's fine, I'll deal with it." And you did. Over and over again. Not because it didn't hurt, but because you didn't feel like you had a choice. There's a difference between being strong and having to be strong. And you've been in the second place for a long time. Your exhaustion doesn't come from weakness. It comes from endurance. From standing upright through disappointment. From staying kind after being misunderstood. From remaining open in a world that hasn't always been gentle with you. If you feel tired in a way sleep hasn't fixed, that's why. It's the tiredness of someone who has held space for too many things alone. Who has been the listener? The fixer. The one who stayed steady when others fell apart. And tonight, you don't have to pretend you're okay. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to explain why you feel the way you do. Just notice this moment. The quiet around you. The sound of your breath. The fact that you're still here, still listening, still open. That says more about your strength than you realize. But strength doesn't mean you're meant to carry everything forever. There is a softer way waiting for you. A way that doesn't require constant resilience. A way where you are supported, not just admired from a distance. You may not fully trust that yet, and that's okay. Trust grows slowly, especially for someone who has learned to rely on themselves. But something is shifting. Not all at once, not dramatically. Just enough for you to feel a small easing inside. A sense that you don't have to brace yourself the way you used to. And as you sit with that feeling, as subtle as it is, let it stay. Because the part of you that has been strong for so long is finally being allowed to rest. Just a little. And in that space, something gentler is beginning to take shape. There's a quiet confusion you've been living with lately. Not loud, not dramatic. Just this steady sense that something feels off. Like you're standing still while time keeps moving. You wake up. You do what you're supposed to do. You show up. You handle things. But inside, it feels like you're not really going anywhere. Aquarius, I know that feeling. It's the feeling of being between worlds. Not who you used to be anymore. Not quite where you're meant to land next. And that space that in between can feel unsettling. You might ask yourself quiet questions late at night. Why does everything feel slower now? Why am I working so hard but not seeing movement? Why does it feel like life won't click into place? That doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means something is changing. There's a difference between being stuck and being reshaped. When you're truly stuck, nothing moves inside you. But when you're in transition, everything feels uncomfortable because it's adjusting. Your thoughts shift. Your priorities change. Things that used to excite you don't hit the same way anymore. And you wonder if you've lost your direction. You haven't. You're just no longer meant to walk the old one. Aquarius, this phase is not a punishment. It's a pause with purpose. Life slows you down, sometimes not to stop you but to realign you. To make sure you build the next chapter on something that no longer fits your soul. That feeling of being out of sync is actually a sign that you're becoming more honest with yourself. You're no longer willing to force things. No longer willing to settle. No longer willing to keep pretending that almost is enough. And that takes courage. Even if it doesn't feel like it right now. You might feel disconnected from people. From routines. From plans you once believed in. But what you're really disconnected from is an old version of you that you've already outgrown. This moment, as confusing as it feels, is not your future. It's a doorway, one you don't have to rush through. You're allowed to move slowly here, to question, to rest, to not have all the answers. The pressure to figure everything out, that voice telling you you're behind, that's not truth. That's fear trying to rush a process that needs patience. And deep down, you know this. Because even in the uncertainty, there's a small part of you that feels strangely calm. A quiet knowing that this isn't the end of your story. Just a necessary pause before things begin to make sense in a new way. So tonight, don't label this moment as failure. Don't call yourself lost. You are transitioning, recalibrating, finding a rhythm that actually belongs to you. And as you let that settle, as you stop fighting the stillness, something subtle begins to happen. The path doesn't appear all at once. It never does. But you start to feel that when it does, you'll be ready to walk it without forcing a single step. There is a lot happening around you right now that you cannot see. And I know that can be frustrating. You are someone who likes clarity. You like understanding the bigger picture. You like knowing why things unfold the way they do. But lately, life has been quiet in a strange way. Not peaceful. Just unclear. Things pause without explanation. Plans slow down. People shift. Opportunities that once felt certain suddenly disappear. And you wonder if something is wrong. Aquarius, nothing is wrong. Some doors are closing because they were never meant to be permanent. They looked right from the outside, they felt familiar. But they would have taken you somewhere that slowly drained you. So they closed, not to punish you, but to protect you from a future that would have asked you to shrink. Some delays are not setbacks, they are timing corrections. You may feel ready, emotionally, mentally, even spiritually. But what is meant to meet you is still aligning, still catching up, still rearranging itself so it can arrive without chaos. And those moments when you were passed over, when you felt unseen, when you wondered why you were not chosen, those moments are not rejections, they are redirections. You are being guided away from places where you would have been tolerated instead of valued, where your depth would have been misunderstood, where your presence would have been convenient but not cherished. That matters more than you know. Nothing in this phase is random. Even the confusion has meaning, especially the confusion. Because when life rearranges itself quietly, it is usually preparing something that needs stability, not urgency. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not missing your chance. You are being positioned. And I know that can be hard to trust when you are tired. When you want proof. When you want reassurance that all this waiting is worth it. So let me ask you something. What if the reason things feel slow is because they are finally being built to last? What if this pause is saving you from repeating an old cycle? The one where you overgave, overextended, settled for almost. Your life is not falling apart, it is being edited. Quietly, carefully. With more intention than you realize. And even though you cannot see the full picture yet, there is a calm intelligence moving through this process. One that understands you better than you sometimes understand yourself. You are allowed to feel uncertain here. You are allowed to question. You are allowed to rest into not knowing. Because something steady is forming beneath the surface. Not rushed. Not forced. Not fragile. And as you stay with this moment, as you let the silence speak instead of filling it with fear, you may start to sense it. That subtle feeling of being held. Of being guided without being pushed. The kind of movement that does not announce itself, but changes everything once it arrives. There are certain kinds of pain that change you. Not loudly. Not all at once. But slowly from the inside out. And you've been through that kind of pain. The kind that teaches you without asking permission. The kind that stays with you long after the moment has passed. You remember how it felt to give your energy, through belief. In situations. In promises that sounded real at the time. You remember the moments you ignored your intuition. The times you stayed a little longer than you should have. The conversations where you told yourself it wasn't that bad. It was. And you know that now. That's the thing about you, Aquarius. You don't repeat lessons once you've truly learned them. You've grown quieter about it. But stronger. You no longer chase what feels uncertain. You no longer explain yourself to people who don't listen. You no longer pour into places that leave you empty. Not because you're closed off, but because you've learned discernment. That's not bitterness, that's wisdom. The pain you experienced didn't come to harden you. It came to refine you. It showed you where your limits are, what your heart can carry, and what it should never be asked to carry again. You understand now that access to you is earned, not assumed. That your time matters, your presence matters, your peace matters. And because of that, what comes next will be different. Not perfect, but healthier, safer, more aligned with who you've become. You won't find yourself in the same dynamics, the same emotional loops, the same quiet disappointments, because you won't ignore the early signs anymore. You trust yourself now in a way you didn't before, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it means walking away without closure. That's growth. And it's the reason the next chapter of your life won't be built on survival. It will be built on stability, on mutual respect, on emotional honesty, on a sense of ease you've been missing for a long time. The kind of ease that doesn't require you to prove your worth or fight to be understood. You may still feel cautious. That's natural. Healing doesn't erase memory. It teaches you how to move forward without reopening old wounds. And you're doing that now, quietly, gracefully, without needing applause. So if there's a part of you that wonders whether the pain was worth it, whether you had to go through all of that to arrive here, just breathe for a moment. Because the version of you listening right now is not the same person who was hurt back then. You're more grounded, more self-aware, more anchored in your truth. And as you sit with that awareness, you may begin to feel a sense of steadiness returning, not rushed, not forced. Just the calm understanding that what's ahead of you will not ask you to betray yourself to receive it. And that makes all the difference. Stability, for you, is going to feel different than what you were taught to want. It is not loud. It does not announce itself. It does not arrive with applause or dramatic change. It comes quietly, almost unnoticed at first. You wake up one morning and realize your chest feels lighter, not because everything is perfect, but because the constant tension is gone. Urgency. The overthinking. The feeling that you have to figure everything out right now. It softens. Aquarius, the kind of stability coming into your life is internal before it is external. It is the calm you feel when you open your eyes and do not immediately brace yourself for the day. It is the absence of dread where anxiety used to live. It is knowing, without needing proof, that you are exactly where you need to be. This is not the stability of staying small, or settling, or holding on to what feels familiar but limiting. This is the stability of alignment, the kind that lets you breathe deeper, sleep better, move through your days with less resistance. You may notice you no longer react the way you used to. Things that once pulled you into worry no longer have the same power. Your nervous system begins to trust the present moment, and that is a big shift, because for a long time, peace felt unsafe to you, too quiet, too unfamiliar. You learned to function in tension, to stay alert, to be prepared for disappointment. But you are not meant to live that way forever. This next season of your life is not about proving your strength. You have already done that. It is about allowing ease, letting things flow without constant effort, letting support meet you without questioning it. You do not need a perfect life to feel fulfilled. You need a life that feels honest, grounded, steady. A life where your mind is not always racing ahead of your body, where your heart is not always on guard. And that is closer than you think. It begins in small moments, choosing rest without guilt, saying no without explanation, trusting your pace. You may still have goals, things you want to build, but they will no longer come from pressure. They will come from clarity, from a sense of inner permission that says, I do not have to rush to be worthy of what I want. You are stepping into a rhythm that matches you, not the world, not other people, you. And once you feel that rhythm, even briefly, you will not want to go back. Because peace, when it arrives honestly, changes the way you define success. It teaches you that stability is not about control. It is about trust. Trust in your timing. Trust in your choices. Trust in the fact that you are not behind. As you sit with this feeling tonight, let it settle into your body, not as an idea, but as a quiet knowing. Something steady is approaching you, not loudly, not suddenly, just close enough now that you can begin to feel safe inside your own life again. Tonight, you don't need to solve anything. You don't need answers. You don't need a plan. You don't need to figure out where your life is going next. You've done enough for one day. Let that land for a moment. So many nights, you've gone to bed with your mind still running, replaying conversations, rewriting decisions, trying to prepare for a future that hasn't arrived yet. And your body followed. Tight shoulders, a shallow breath, a nervous system that never fully shut off. But tonight is different. Tonight is not asking anything from you. It's inviting you to slow down, not as a technique, not as a rule, just as permission. Take a breath that goes a little deeper than the last one, not forcing it, just letting it happen. Feel where you are right now, the weight of your body, the surface beneath you, the quiet hum of the night. You don't have to hold yourself together here. Aquarius, rest is not something you earn after everything is fixed. Rest is something you need so things can begin to heal. You've spent so much time living in your mind, analyzing, observing, trying to understand the bigger picture. But your nervous system needs something simpler tonight. It needs safety, stillness, a sense that nothing bad will happen if you stop thinking for a while, and it won't. Nothing will fall apart if you rest. Nothing will be lost. Nothing will pass you by. The world will keep turning, life will keep moving, and what is meant for you will not miss you. You don't need to be alert right now. You don't need to be prepared. Just present. Let your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breath find its own rhythm. If your thoughts wander, that's okay. You don't need to chase them away. Just notice them and gently let them pass. Like clouds moving across a dark sky. There is a deep strength in allowing yourself this pause. Not the kind that proves anything. The kind that restores you. You don't have to know how everything will work out. You don't have to understand the timing. You don't have to trust the whole future tonight. All you need to trust is this moment, this breath, this quiet, and the simple truth that you are allowed to rest inside your life, not just survive it. As you begin to let go of the need to stay awake inside your thoughts, something softer starts to take over. Your body remembers how to settle, your heart slows, your mind loosens its grip, and in that gentle letting go, you don't lose control, you find relief. You can go to sleep tonight without carrying every question with you, without demanding clarity, without pressure, just with the understanding that you don't need all the answers right now. They will come in their own time, when you're ready to receive them. For now, let the night hold you. There is nothing you need to do next. Just allow yourself to drift into rest, knowing that even while you sleep, something within you is quietly being taken care of. Before you let the night take you fully, there is something important I want you to remember. Something simple, but true. You are not abandoned. Even in the moments when it felt like you were walking alone, even when people stepped away, even when answers didn't come, you were never left without guidance. Some things moved out of your life because they could not go where you were going. That was not loss. That was protection. You are not late. Your timing has always been different, more intuitive, more internal. You move when something feels aligned, not when the world pressures you to rush. And that has saved you more times than you realize. You are not behind anyone. You are simply walking a path that cannot be compared. And you are not on the wrong road. Even the detours taught you something essential. Even the pauses shaped you. Even the waiting refined your sense of self. Nothing was wasted. Aquarius, there is a quieter kind of guidance around you now. Not dramatic. Not urgent. It doesn't push. It reassures. It speaks through ease instead of fear. Through calm instead of chaos. You may notice that your life begins to feel more breathable. Like there is space between moments. Like you no longer have to brace yourself for what comes next. That is not coincidence. That is what happens when you stop fighting your own rhythm and allow yourself to be led gently instead of forced forward. You don't need to prove how strong you are anymore. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You don't need to rush healing to make others comfortable. You are allowed to arrive slowly into a life that feels safer, more stable, more honest, a life where you can rest without guilt, where joy doesn't feel temporary, where peace doesn't feel suspicious. What lies ahead of you is not heavy. It does not demand sacrifice at the cost of your well-being. It does not require you to abandon yourself. It meets you where you are, as you are. And that is why this season feels softer, even when it is unfamiliar. So as you settle into sleep, let go of the idea that you have to be anywhere else. You are exactly where you need to be tonight. Let the quiet wrap around you. Let your body sink into rest. Let your mind loosen its grip. You don't have to carry the whole story with you into tomorrow. Just this truth. You are guided. You are supported. You are moving toward a life that will feel lighter than the one you survived. And as the night holds you, know that something gentle is already making its way toward you. You don't need to watch for it. You'll feel it when breathing becomes easier and being yourself feels like home. Before you go, there's one more thing I want to tell you. Something most people never say out loud. If this message stayed with you until now, if you didn't click away, if something inside you felt unseen, that means your intuition is still very much alive. Aquarius, that's not accidental. You don't stay where there's no meaning. You don't listen unless something resonates. And you don't find messages like this unless you're ready to hear them. So let this moment be a quiet confirmation. You're not broken. You're not disconnected. You're not drifting with direction. You're listening again to yourself. And that's how it's where everything begins. If this message reached you tonight, if it softened something inside you, I want you to do one simple thing. Leave a comment below and write, "I trust myself." Not for the algorithm, not for me, for you. Because every time you say that, you're choosing your inner voice over fear, your truth over noise. And if you feel called to stay connected, to be part of a space where Aquarius energy is understood, where depth is honored, and healing doesn't feel rushed, subscribe. Not because you need another channel, but because this is a place you can return to when the world feels loud and you need to remember who you are. This isn't the end of the message. It never is. This is just a pause, a breath between moments. There are more conversations ahead, more quiet realizations, more nights where the right words find you exactly when you need them. The journey doesn't stop here. Another message is already forming. Another layer of understanding is on its way. Until then, trust what you felt tonight. Trust the calm. Trust the clarity. Trust yourself. And remember, Aquarius, you're not walking this path alone.